He wasn't a monster. Not to his wife, not to his daughter, not even to himself. Mark was, in many ways, the kind of man most people would consider normal. He had a decent job in IT, coached his daughter's soccer team on weekends, and brought home flowers every Friday like clockwork. His colleagues liked him. His neighbors waved when they saw him out mowing the lawn. And his wife, Sarah, had loved him since college. But Mark had a secret, one that didn't start with some dark impulse or a traumatic past. It began the way most addictions do, quietly, gradually, and far too young. He was 12 when he first saw porn. A friend had stolen a DVD from his older brother, and the group of boys huddled around a TV late at night, trying not to wake anyone. The screen flickered. The room was silent, hearts racing, faces flushed with the confusion of excitement and shame. That night, something opened in Mark that he didn't know how to close. At first, it was just curiosity. Then it was habit. Then it was ritual. By high school, Mark had learned how to hide it. He cleared his browser history like a pro, knew the exact time his parents would be home, learned to wear two faces, one for the world and one for the screen. And it worked. For a long time, it worked. He went to college, majored in computer science, met Sarah in a freshman writing class. She was sharp, funny, and a little intimidating in the best way. When she laughed at his jokes, he felt like the most interesting man alive. They dated, moved in together, got married. When their daughter Lily was born, Mark cried for the first time in years. Real tears, not the kind you hide in the shower. The kind that make you believe maybe this life, this messy, beautiful life, is enough. But the screen was still there. Late at night, when everyone else was asleep, when he felt stressed or restless or hollow, he told himself it wasn't a problem. Everyone does it. At least I'm not cheating. But it was cheating, not in the physical sense, but in the emotional, the spiritual, the self-deceiving sense. It stole his presence, his attention, his affection. Sarah noticed. At first, it was subtle. He'd seem distracted, uninterested in intimacy, distant when she shared something meaningful. When she reached for him in bed, he'd turn away, not coldly, just vaguely elsewhere. He blamed work, stress, fatigue. And Sarah, being the kind and patient woman she was, believed him, or wanted to. But it got worse. He started resenting her, not because of anything she did, but because she represented reality and reality was no longer enough. The women on his screen didn't argue. They didn't have needs. They didn't age. They were pixelated fantasies molded to his will. Real love was harder. It required compromise, communication, vulnerability. So he withdrew. He still showed up physically, but not emotionally. He went through the motions, smiled at school plays, paid the bills, told Lily bedtime stories, but he was fading from the inside out. Then came the night everything fell apart. It was a Thursday. He'd forgotten to close his laptop, something he never did. He'd fallen asleep on the couch after another binge session, headphones still in, browser still open. Sarah found it. Not just a video, dozens, hundreds, a trail stretching back years, categories he couldn't explain, images that felt grotesque in the cold light of day. She didn't scream, didn't cry. She just stood there, silent, staring at the man she thought she knew. Mark woke to the sound of her voice, quiet, trembling. "Is this who you are?" He didn't know how to answer. He begged, apologized, swore it didn't mean anything, that it had nothing to do with her, that it was just stress, just a phase. But the betrayal wasn't just the content. It was the lies, the years of denial, the intimacy stolen, the time wasted, the truth hidden. Within a week, Sarah filed for separation. Mark moved into a furnished apartment with beige walls and silence that echoed. He saw Lily on weekends. She asked him why mommy was sad, why he wasn't home anymore. He didn't have the language to explain. He tried to go back to normal, whatever that meant. But without the structure of his family, the addiction worsened. He started watching during work hours, missed deadlines, snapped at colleagues, got written up. Eventually, he was let go. From a husband to a father to a man without anchor, Mark spiraled. There were nights he'd stare at the screen until 4 a.m., hating himself with every click. He stopped eating properly, stopped exercising, even stopped showering for a while. It wasn't pleasure anymore. It was compulsion, a hollow routine, a digital self-harm. He wanted to stop. God, he wanted to stop. But every time he tried, the cravings came back stronger. The urges weren't just physical, they were emotional, psychological, like trying to outrun a shadow that lived inside his head. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. He was scrolling Reddit one night, numb and aimless, when he stumbled on a thread titled, "Porn Almost Ruined My Life." Here's how I took it back. It wasn't preachy. It wasn't dramatic. Just real. Honest. Another man's story. Shame, collapse, recovery. Mark read it 5 times, then clicked every link. One of them led to a tool called Ever Accountable, a system where your browsing activity gets sent to a trusted friend or partner. Not to punish, but to add transparency, to make the hidden visible. He signed up, chose his brother Tom as his accountability partner. That was one of the hardest calls he ever made. "Can you help me stay clean?" Tom didn't judge. He just said, "Let's do this together." It wasn't magic. The first week, Mark relapsed twice. Each time he had to explain, own it, talk about it. And that conversation, awkward as it was, started rewiring his brain. He joined a support group, went to therapy, read books about dopamine and addiction and trauma and shame. He started running again, journaling, leaving his phone outside the bedroom. Recovery wasn't a straight line. It was messy. There were setbacks, moments of crushing guilt. But there was also progress, clarity, moments of stillness where he didn't feel the urge. The fog began to lift. 2 years later, Mark isn't cured. He's just honest, present, whole in ways he never was before. He's rebuilding trust with Sarah, slowly, respectfully. Lily now spends 2 nights a week at his place. They bake cookies, watch cartoons. He listens when she talks. She doesn't know the full story, not yet, but she knows her dad is there now, in a way he never was before. And that means everything. If you're watching this and feel a lump in your throat, if this sounds familiar, if there's a part of your life you've kept hidden in the dark, you're not alone. You're not broken. But you do need help. Because this thing, it doesn't just go away. It feeds in silence. It thrives in shame. But the moment you drag it into the light, that's when it starts to lose its power. Mark's story isn't rare. It's not even exceptional. It's just one of millions. The only difference is he finally decided to speak. Maybe now you will too. Leave a comment, tell your story, or share this with someone who needs it. This might just be the beginning of your own recovery story.